Hello, everybody. How's it going? How are we doing today? We doing all right? We feeling all right? Ooh, ooh, ooh. I've got ghostly hands. Look at that. Ghostly fingers. Apparently, the internet doesn't want to keep up with my green screen effect. Kind of annoying, but how are we doing? Elfish tanks. Are you the only one in here? Is it an error or is that really the case? Hello and welcome. And welcome to our party if that's the case. Udo, hi, how are you? Welcome. Cassandra, hello. Welcome. And Fish Hunter, Gift of the Wild, hello. Yeah, we're streaming a little early today, just a little bit, an hour. Hey Jeff, hello, my friend. Robert, hello. Daniel, okay, now I see people. Now everyone's flooding in. Daniel, welcome. First time watcher, last time watcher, probably. Welcome. So I've got not a whole lot going on here today. I figured let's talk fish. If you guys have fish questions, I'll do my best to answer them. If you guys have anything to talk about, we can talk about that. Violet, you're turning violet. I'm just using my aquarium light here. If you guys haven't noticed that I've got an aquarium tank right next to my work area in the kitchen on like the kitchen area where there's the granite countertop. There's a bar to sit at our kitchen. Well, I stand there a lot because my back's always sore and I do better standing than sitting working. So I stand there a lot and I put the little aquarium here. Oh wait, let me turn this crazy blur mode thing off. And right now the aquarium is actually, I'm turning it green water right now at the moment. Here we go. So I'm turning the aquarium green water at the moment. You can see it here and I'm letting it drain. Oh, boy, it looks dark right now without the light on it. Let's turn the light back on just so you see the color. But it is well, now you can't probably see anything. Anyways, well that good job failing, Alex. Good job. Anyways, there's an aquarium there, and I have had that aquarium on, and I've been sitting here kind of playing with things and working on videos, working on research, yada yada, the stuff that I do anyhow. And I have kind of liked having it here, and what I want to do now is to have a different aquarium like here with me or wherever I work from now on with like one species and just sit there and I'll have like a webcam ready, and if something goes on, like they start spawning or they start acting cool, like interesting territorial or social behavior, I'll then be able to just like hit play, and I'll also get to know that fish really well. So that's kind of my new plan with like making a mini aquascape here out of this little 4.5 gallon tank, is to kind of like keep that as a goal to like end up hanging out right with the fish all day long, like one species at a time, and maybe like switch it up every time. Either I haven't decided like if a successful spawn should be the marker, or if maybe just a month at a time or what. But then hopefully at the end of that period, hopefully then I can basically like make a video of like what I learned about the little fishies. Boy, that is, it confuses the heck out of. Hold on, what is going on here? I was trying to figure out why is it so confused on the settings here. Let's see here. So we got virtual background is off. Turn it off all the way. There we go. Maybe let's see here. None. There we go. That might be better. So anyways, the idea in the future will be to have some little fish right here, right where I'm working the fish tank. Oh, now you can see the tank better. I was gonna say it's green water, but it's not like super green water. It's just kind of a biotope more than anything, with a Dr. Pepper can hanging out in it. And then over here, you can see I've got a bunch of little samples of creepy crawlies. So I've got you know, mosquito larvae, isopods, Daphnia, Cyclops. There's a whole arrangement. Basically, a little bit of everything I keep out in my tubs is in there. And then we've got the turkey baster here. And so I can just, you know, tilt the thing over if I want it and take a little squirt of it. But what I want to check is if the isopods are really going to clean the eggs like they do in reportedly Danios and CPDs, as well as a number of other fish. Supposedly they're supposed to clean the eggs themselves, like not just be not harmful and not eating the eggs, but they're supposed to actually clean the eggs. So I'm really curious to see if that holds true, or if that was just Danios and maybe there's something about Danios, or maybe a certain kind of egg or fish, you know, that it has to be a certain species. But if that works across many species and it's not some strange kind of evolutionary co-evolution, it would be really interesting to kind of explore that and to document that for the channel. Anyways, I'm just feeding them right now. Basically, I've been letting the water get lower and lower in that tank, and I'm hoping that it's getting harder and harder since I have such soft water. And I think it's working because my males now are getting really deep blue, some of them, and you can really see them. Actually, right now they're being pretty lively. I don't know if this little webcam will be the best thing. We'll have to use a different. I'll get you guys some good shots, but the male, you can see the blue on him. When he eats, he's really dark blue. Sometimes he can get like black and blue. Right now he's still pretty light, but they've been doing the curling up into a pattern together, almost like they're both spooning each other kind of thing. Yeah, there we go. See, he's eating the live food. The thing is that, you know, these guys only eat live food, and literally if I don't feed them 2 or 3 times a day, like a good amount, like probably, I mean, I don't know how to describe what a good amount is with these little guys, but if I don't feed them, probably, looking at like this bottle, like if I don't feed them basically everything you can see in the shot right there, like that much per fish a day, their bellies start getting less than plump, which is interesting because I mean, I know there's a lot of water in every little critter they're eating, so that they really do need to make up for that. And kitty, hello. The kitty is wanting to investigate. That's why we put a lid on the tank. Hi, Sumi. Sumi, say hi. Hi, baby girl. Hi, baby girl. So anyways, how is everybody in the chat doing? We doing all right? Claire, what's up? Jeff Pelham, I've been hanging out over at Jeff Pelham Aquatics on his live streams lately. Just chatting with him when he goes live. I always have fun with that. Running water, yeah, they're little pygmy sunfish. They're little Elosoma gilberti, and I've got basically 3 females, 2 males in there, or 3 males, 3 females. Sorry, one I wasn't sure about for a while because it was a baby, but yeah. I have a question. Yuyo says, I have a question. Do you know how to get rid of staghorn algae? No. I mean, sure. I know how to get rid of it just like any other algae. What I would do is I would take a razor blade or some sort of sharp edge, and I would shave it kind of. You can also even use a razor, like for shaving razor, or you can use like a box cutter or box knife, something like that. But a very sharp razor blade, and then I will take either a siphon with a very narrow hose or I will use literally a turkey baster. And as I cut, I'll then suck it up and then squirt out the trimmings into a bucket. Because otherwise, if you cut it, it will float all over. But I try to get rid of some of the mass of the algae that way, whether it's cyanobacteria, whether it's algae. You're just going to have to use the tough manual method and remove it by hand if you don't have, the right crew to eat it. Now, there are some fish out there. The reticulatus Siamese algae eater, that's the one with the black diamond. I'll pull it up so you guys can see it. There's a few fish that will eat staghorn, or sometimes they call, there's black beard algae, there's red algae. There's a bunch of different kinds of algae out there. Now, there's a number of fish like flagfish from Florida that will eat it. Mollies will eat it. Honestly, most of the live bearers in the Zophophorus and in the Posilidae families will eat that if they get bored. Honestly, I've seen a lot of zebrafish or rainbow fish and everything from Danios, zebra Danios, and fish like that eating algae as well. They have to get pretty desperate, and I don't know whether they're eating the bacteria on the algae, whether they're eating the fungus on the algae, whether they're eating the nutritious biofilm. But if you don't feed them for 3 or 4 days, a lot of times you'll see that their waste, their poo, is actually a green curlicue or a green pellet. A lot of fish, and that's your cue that, wow, they're eating the algae. That they're definitely eating the algae if you see that in their waste, or if you see droppings around the bottom of the tank like that. I know that in the case of my sahulensis rainbow fish and my pseudomagills, I was shocked to see how much they produce that looks like that. They really do get into that. Let's see here. Yeah, Jeff was just saying, hey, Linda, welcome. And howdy, Steven. Good to see you, buddy. Darbwire, what's up? And Chad, what up? Jeff was saying his Posilia sphenops devoured 29 gallons worth of cyanobacteria. Every scrap of it took about 3 weeks. Yeah. So that is helpful. Also, the reticulatus algae eater specifically, the flying fox, the Chinese flying fox varieties of algae eaters, actually, in my opinion, some people say they don't eat algae, but when they're young, I find that they actually do eat algae. It's just as they get older, they're quite territorial and aggressive and can be problematic. So I don't recommend the flying fox. I really only recommend the 3 Siamese algae eater species that are common to the hobby, the ones that have Siamese algae eater in their name. And there's one that has a black diamond on its tail that's a silver body, and that one is the best in my opinion. That's the reticulatus. It'll eat the coarsest algae, and it'll eat slimy soft algae. It won't eat cyanobacteria really. That's a real specific to the species of cyanobacteria thing, because cyanobacteria often has cyanotoxins. So whereas spirulina and some of these other cyanobacteria are actually considered like superfoods, just charged with nutrients and protein, a lot, in fact, more than not, of the cyanobacteria is actually pretty harmful, and has stuff that builds up as toxicity, which will cause twitching in fish. It'll cause them to lose control of their nervous system, essentially. It attacks it like a nerve agent over time. Lead and mercury can kind of do that too. Yeah. But anyways, so I would suggest one of those. Get the kind with the diamond, not with the stripe down the side, not with the stripe and the diamond, and not with just silver. Get the one that goes by the Latin name, the reticulatus. I forget the genus name, but the species name is reticulatus. And those are great for it. Also, like I said, mollies, wild mollies, wild swordtails, platyfish, guppies. Fancy guppies are going to be a lot less inclined to do that, but any of those live bears, the lamias, the other kind of funky like humpback lamias, or the black chin metallic live bears, or yellow belly live bears, a lot of the tooth carps, They all actually eat quite a bit of it. Also, so do a good number of cichlids, and so do goldfish and carp. Barbs as well will also do that. So there are a number of fish that will help you out in the long run. Loaches oftentimes will kind of mow it down, not necessarily intentionally or targeted, but what they're doing is they're eating the protein film, the biofilm, and the microscopic little foods that grow on the surface. And a lot of times they have evolved to just eat that algae in the process. So I would say that is your best bet, like long term, if you want something to handle it. Now, granted, the better plan is to never get it in the first place. So figure out what it is. Is it phosphates that are too high? Is it CO2 that you don't have enough CO2 and your plants are, you don't have enough plants? Is it you have too much light? Or, a lot of people will find if you turn your light stronger, actually, like believe it or not, sounds crazy, turn your light up like 100% light. If you've got like a flue ball or something, uh, turn that up all the way. But instead of having it on, say 8 or 10 hours a day, have it on 5 or 6, and your plants will use that time it's on to like supercharge their growth. And then when it's off, they're actually building their cells and using the stored up energy that's in the roots and the tissues of the plant to do their other. They basically have two metabolic modes. There's like daytime and nighttime, and one they take oxygen and they turn carbon dioxide into oxygen, and we know about that, through photosynthesis. It's a byproduct of that process. Well, algae does the same thing, and algae can use light in a room like this. Algae can use, if you can read the letters on a page of a book, there is enough light for cyanobacteria, certainly almost any species, and almost all algae species, that's enough light that they can also survive and keep their metabolic processes going. So when I say black out a tank for a couple days, I mean put a quilt over that tank, or make sure you can really darken that room. It's not, oh, I have a tank in my living room and there's a window off to the side and there's this kind of ambient light, or even like kitchen light, or light from the room next door. Just no light. You don't want any of that. Otherwise, that algae, that's how it's getting ahead each day, pretty much in most cases, is it's able to metabolically use that light while the plants are saying, I don't have enough energy. And they just don't peak perform. And if you can kind of give the plants a little nudge, a lot of times that will help out. All right, Uncle Smiley's Aquarium, what's up? Hello. Adam Wiley, what's up? I had a 40-gallon of guppies, cories, plecos, shrimp, snails. Since then, I've switched over to having 7 pea puffers who ate the majority shrimp snails. Oh, yeah, Adam, that can happen. I mean, yeah, if you used to have cories, snails, guppies, and plecos, all those are kind of not detrivores, but they all eat the scraps of what's to offer in the world. And yeah, the pea puffers can be they can be a little jerks, unfortunately. Yeah. Thank you, Stephen. Yes, the I don't know how to say this exactly. Stephen's got the right name, but the Crossochellius, I don't know if that's how you say it, but reticulatus is his favorite algae eater as well. And again, that's the one with the little diamond tail. Thank you for letting me know the genus name. I totally spaced on it. I was like, Crossochellius? No, that's a different fish. But yeah. Boots and Cats, what's up? Good to see you. Welcome. Linda 3G, what's up? RC Savage, what's up? Really need Alex, I really need help getting ram's horn snail outbreak under control in a 65 with rice fish. Any advice? Stop feeding them. Yeah, basically, if they're still growing, you're feeding too much. Rice fish don't need to eat a lot. They can eat just a little bit. So get a floating food that the rice fish can get to like a very fine grain powder, and literally just put a little bit there, or a very fine floating pellet. Aquarium Co-op makes a great little micro pellet. Either that or their magic nano food. Both options float pretty well. The magic micro pellet food can be a little bit messy in that it has kind of an oily shimmer, protein film, and fatty deposit left over sometimes, especially if you don't have a tank that you do water changes on frequently. Um, but that will keep it up and off the bottom, away from the snails for a while. And snails will surf, and they'll float. They'll put air in their shell, or out of their shell, however they do it. And basically, they'll trap the air bubble in their shell, and then they'll go upside down on the water and eat with the surface tension kind of holding them up if they're small snails. And they will start to eat food that way, but it takes a little while for them to kind of like figure that out and to be like, oh, food's there. Let's get into position. So um, that is it is kind of my thought, is to feed them that way will really help your snails. But to get them out of there in the first place, I would just take your time and grab them all. Like, get when if they're tiny enough, use a siphon or a turkey baster or whatever. If you're going to do a big water change, or you've got a siphon or a siphon ready that's already pulling, you can kind of just pop them off if they're tiny, and they'll get sucked up the hose. But you got to have a big tank for that. So I would say, really slowly over time, you could get an assassin snail to do the dirty work. But I'm guessing, it's probably just that the rice fish are very reluctant to go down and eat. They like to eat up high. They may follow a pellet as it's dropping, or if they're already near the bottom, they may kind of go for it. But for the most part, they're a species that loves to hang out in plants, at the corner of tanks, and kind of at the top right below the water. They're kind of an ambush insectivore naturally. And you know, it's hard once it sinks for them to have any interest in a non-moving thing. And so then you get that rot and that fungus, that white puffy stuff. So also, I would gravel vac or clean up your food. If you have any shrimp or anything lower in the tank that you're feeding other than the Medaka rice fish, I would say you could get a little feeding dish and you could feed that. But basically, if you deny the snails the food, eventually their babies won't grow. The babies will stagnate. Their shells won't have enough nutrients, and the babies will just kind of slowly disappear from your tank, or they'll stay. Say there's 100 in there, and like 5 big adults and 75 babies and a few in betweens. Well, those little babies, if you fix the overfeeding problem, they shouldn't keep growing. The bigger ones should be able to muscle out their way and get what they need for food. So if you don't want any of the snails, you could also use something like a dewormer, I suppose, and nuke the snails. But I'm assuming you want to keep some of the snails as a cleanup crew, and as I guess detrivores and fungivores, mycologists of the tank, as they kind of are. Yeah, so you can also get snail traps, planaria traps, stuff like that. But I always worry not so much about snail explosions, because Malaysian trumpet snails, ram's horn snails, they're known to like explode. Literally hundreds or thousands can appear in a month or two if there was an influx of food, like a lot of food for them, because it just takes the parents saying, oh, there's resources here, and then they each have 100 babies or eggs. And that only took 10 snails or whatever, 5 really, because they're pairs, to say like, oh, there's enough resources here for me to have babies, and now you have 100 more snails, just because of what 5 snails thought of you overfeeding them. So it doesn't mean that there's food for 100 snails. It means there was food for 10, 20 snails, and they just are going to do what they're going to do naturally. Let's see here. Cam by Done. Cam by Done? I don't know how to say that. Your name. I'm sorry. I messed it up. I'm sure I butchered it. Even they will thank you. 20 tall, halfway planted with dirt. Do I need to do water changes regularly? I have a betta and tetras and two nerites. I would say no, not necessarily, but test your tank. Get a test kit. If your tank is well cycled, and if you have soft water, soft tap water, or slightly acidic tap water, even, you could probably get away with never doing a water change to those fish because they like soft acidic stuff. If you've got plants in there, you could probably just do water top offs, just add water as it evaporates if your tap water is soft. Now, if you have tap water that's 400 parts per million, or the KH is 20 or something, that's degrees. That's degrees of hardness, carbonate in the sense of. So when you read this, I have a video on this if you're curious, but there is a little trick to a lot of test strips for KH, GH, and pH. When you're trying to understand GH and KH, there are degrees of hardness, and there's general hardness, and there's carbonate hardness, but a degree of hardness is actually 17.9 parts per million. So a lot of test strips read in parts per million, or a lot of care sheets will tell you the ppm of like the mono shrimp is between this and this, or this fish likes hardness of this to this, and it'll be in ppms. Well, if it's from Europe, or a lot of other parts of the world too, oftentimes Taiwan, Japan, you'll see it in D, capital D, and then the KH rather than the ppm. And that is degrees of carbonate hardness. And so that means for every part per million, you actually take 17.9 parts per million. So if it says 5 degrees of carbonate hardness, so it says 5 DKH, multiply that 5 by 17.9, and that will give you the parts per million hardness. And a lot of people just don't ever notice that, or they're like, I don't understand. Like, I put 3 or 4 drops in this test kit, and that's supposed to tell me my KH or GH. What gives? Like, is it really only 6 drops equals 6 parts per million? And it's no, it equals 6 times 17.9 drops. So I hope that makes a little sense. Anyways, go see my video on KH, GH, and pH if you're interested in that. But yeah, Stephen P. Yep, called the compensation point, where the rate of photosynthesis matches the rate of respiration. Very low compensation point for algae. Yes, thank you, Stephen P. I really appreciate your science, your brain. There's a lot of these terms that I read and I remember the concept, but I don't remember the term. And the compensation point, now that I read it, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that thing. So I appreciate that. Thank you, man. Also, the Johnny Best, the 5 memberships that were given out. Thank you so much. That's very generous as always. He is a giver to the community, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. But also to those of you who got those, welcome. Come on aboard. The water's fine. And I think there's going to be soon another a heavyweight champ. Good to see you. Fishcapades, good to see you. Dean, good to see you. I think we're going to have another round of fish related fishery and science and new species profiles soon, because there's actually been quite a few new fish species. And in my head, I was thinking, oh, should I save these? And every 3 to 6 months, I'll say, oh, here's all the loaches, or here's all the Asian fish that have been discovered in this first half of 2025. And I think what's easiest for me is going to be to actually just cover each one as it comes. And if it's only a 5-minute video, because we only have a bare minimal amount of knowledge about it, then so be it. but a lot of the new fish that come out, you know, there's not a lot when something comes out. So, for instance, they just announced, and let me get the name of it right, that there is a new betta. There's a new betta species. And not only is it a new betta species, there's an entire new um, betta complex, which is really cool. Let me pull that up. Also, I wanted to shout out a clip I saw, as well as some still photos coming out of uh, these new lines of these blue paradise fish coming out of China and Taiwan. Holy moly. I don't like the ribbony look on the tail that much, but man, the colors and the bold blue pattern, wild for paradise fish. They are super hardy fish. They can withstand almost freezing and stuff. So super cool that somebody's working with them and, you know, got something so impressive. Where did that beta go? Beta. Uh, where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? So there's a new betta species though, and it also has its new genus named after it, and a whole like subcomplex is going to be named after it because genetically it's that different, I suppose. Um, let's see. Well, now I don't know what I did with the post. Uh, I'll have to look for it again and reshare it. But yeah, so let me get down to the live part. Johnny Best, also another super sticker. Thank you so much, my buddy. I really do appreciate that. Thank you for the super duper trooper sticker. Um, Let's see here. Adam, could you answer my algae in my pea puffer tank question one more time? You had an ad playing. Oh, that's annoying. I'm sorry, eating ads are playing, period. That is frustrating. Also, guys, I want to apologize right now. I'm sure my face is going to look all blotchy and like I've got with my lupus, my autoimmune issues, and the psoriatic arthritis. You can see how bad the plaques are on my elbows. They get really bad and it turns into this thick, awful. Anyways, you don't need to hear about that. But it makes for a tough time, and it really zaps my energy to the point where when I get tired, I really like lose it to the point where I almost feel like punch drunk or intoxicated. And so I've been fighting that for a week. They've also been trying to adjust my medications, but the problem is I've had that ongoing infection with my foot, and they keep trying to turn down my autoimmune medications, which are like that turns your immune system response down. But when you have an infection, you need that response turned up, right? So it's a very fine balancing act of when my immune system is not giving me problems, they need to like really, really, really suppress it because otherwise I get inflammation. I get cells growing at 2, 3, 4 times the speed they should. And then all of a sudden, if they do too much the other way or too much medication the other way, an infection can take over and boom, I got like 104 fever and it goes all over my body. So it's really, lately it's been tough. And guys, I've been really wanting to cover more content again, like where I was cranking out 3 videos a week and doing 2 live streams every week. But I have to sometimes tell myself, like, you need to pace yourself. And it's frustrating to me because I want to be talking to you guys. I have so many things on my mind. Uh, and now I'm still locked up with this curse of an idea that basically I want to make content and I want to make videos about a lot of topics, or I want to make species spotlights. A lot of them don't do super well. And so that's very difficult for the channel because then it buries the videos that I do want to do well and I do care that do well when I do spend a bunch of time. For instance, like ones I spend months of researching about the history of domestication of bettas, or the history of Caridina shrimp and how they were domesticated, and who was the first person to breed this species or that species, and some of that stuff that I'm going to be covering again, hopefully soon. It's tricky, because if you make a couple videos that don't do well analytically, I'm okay with that for the sake of like, oh, well, some people enjoyed it. Most people didn't even get the alert. That's a bummer, but life goes on and it's a niche thing. I get that. That's okay. Like, this channel has always been a slower grower and not a shower, and so when you find it, you find it, but you may have to come check and look for the kinds of content you want. If you like the history based content, I really have been slacking on that end of things for a while, because those videos have been kind of doing badly for quite some time. Whenever I do a video that's like, here is a naturalist from the 1800s, and I talk about their life, those videos don't seem to do super well. So what I've been trying to propose to myself is, right now I am working on a least killifish, or Heteranda formosa, the smallest live bear in the world, the smallest North American freshwater fish. I've been working on how to tie in those stories into species spotlights, but also keep it like 10 to 15 minutes, or at least under 20 minutes. And so hopefully we can accomplish some of that, and still keep that, the goal of talking about where we've been as a hobby, how we got here, what we know, what's changing that we know, what's new that we're discovering, how we're applying science and research and technology and critical thought to what we know and what we're learning and discovering about fish and freshwater ecology and botany and all these things. And then also the future of where that's headed. And also covering the kind of meta analysis of where we are as a hobby and as individuals in our interaction with these processes and with these concepts. Almost in a, like, in some of the videos that have done better lately, have been things like talking about, for instance, that last video is, if I could teach you one thing in this hobby, I hope you take away this. And that is the concept of, like, yes, there are better aquarists than me out there in anything I'm talking about. So if I'm talking about Iwagumi aquascapes, I've learned some things, hopefully, from some of the best masters. I've read the books, I've chatted with the people, if at all possible. I've chatted with people who studied under other people. I get the underlying concept, and can I do something that's approaching like palatable, or like, it's mediocre? It checks the boxes, but he's probably getting a D on the assignment. But sure, he did all the things. It's just not real good. I can do that, I feel pretty confidently, with most of the things that I ever talk about in this hobby. But I'm not the master. I'm not the best. I'm not one of the top 100. I'm not one of the top 1,000 or whatever, usually, on any of this stuff. And I am just hoping to be a teacher who throws these breadcrumbs out of, hey guys, this is interesting. The experts that love this thought this was interesting and we should talk about this. These experts over here that are doing something completely different, that are, auto mechanics, that are looking at the hydrodynamics of racing boats and fish, freshwater sardines or something, have applied the scales and the patterns for drag reduction. And then, can that insert somewhere over here with, yes, and acoustically, the new stealth task force joint strike fighters and stuff, they actually have a paint with a texture and a molecular cover on the microscopic level that causes sound to be absorbed and refracted, that is very similar to the way the fish scales break up pressure wave profiles and become stealth And all that also has a tangential connection to why fish are sparkly, and then who's line breeding guppies with sparkly looks on them right now. Who's got the blue lace Moscow guppies, and why are they so or the bluegrass? Why are they so twinkly looking? Or whatever. So how can we facilitate helping each other, but also bring these great minds, these great thoughts, these disparate and weird thoughts that aren't necessarily connected, or maybe not even that helpful on their own, but maybe they will be that magic little piece, that puzzle piece, or that key that fits in a lock in your brain or in a neuron, in a memory, that allows you to go, oh, that totally makes sense because I remember how this fit with that, and then this fits with that. And now I totally understand how you can, get something altogether new, and we move forward as a society like that. We get a rush out of these moments of discovery, out of these yeah, it's just, I think it's really beautiful, and that's what I want to facilitate. Also, come on, little fishy. Come on, little doggy. Little fishy was really shimmering there for a moment in the turquoise. But of course, now you gotta tone it down, tone a paw, tone it down, tone a paw. Anyways, there, let me get this out of the direct line of fire. Into the line of fire. Into the, okay. All right, so, hello. There's our brave male, our intrepid explorer. But maybe having fish right next to the computer is a bad idea. Maybe it's too distracting for live streams. I don't know. Oh, look, it's my wife. My wife. Uh, I actually almost changed my last name to my wife's last name, Severance. I think Alexander Severance is a way cooler name than Alexander Williamson. Just gonna say. Ray Cooper says, "Hey, Ray Cooper, good to see you, man. I've got 55 gallon with Turkana jewel cichlids and 100 tiger barbs. Wow. I added 50 flagfish. It's doing awesome. Wow. I would love to see that if you got a clip of that or if you got photos. That sounds crazy. That might be overdoing it unless you got a lot of filtration. But I mean, if you got plants or if you got good filtration, you know what you're doing, then great. More power to you. I'm not gonna be the stalking police here, but that is a pretty wild setup for sure. I had a female betta that killed guppies. Um, yeah, some female bettas can be just as crazy as the males, definitely. Alex, your opinion on Pandagara with betta in a community tank with cories and shoaling peaceful fish. Pandagaras themselves, they can be a little bit fighty, just like Siamese algae eaters, just like plecos. There's just this vibe of a lot of bottom dwelling fish that live in caves where they get territorial because they're going to breed in that cave, and so they are kind of violent to their own, but they're rarely violent to the other species that are surrounding them, which is what I'd say is they probably aren't going to do much other than maybe slap them once or twice with the fin, or kind of swim and sit on top of them kind of thing, and kind of edge them out with their pectoral fins once in a while or with their tail. But that's really about it. Asia, good to see you. I do see you, that's for sure. Let's see here. Just one more fish. Hello. So the other thing, guys, I've been wanting to do on the channel is I want to I want to keep a couple more cares fish that Hopefully we can cover more species spotlight type stuff, but maybe even going to the location. So for instance, like the Devil's Hole pupfish or Ash Meadows, which is the same Aphosimian kind of pupfish vibe species, but it's not the one that's got only, well, I think it's down to 36, 34 pupfish right now, unfortunately, at the Devil's Hole in Death Valley. But literally last summer, there were 290 of them, I think, and now they've died back to only like 30 or 40 fish. Um, so that's something that I want to facilitate, but I'm interested in seeing if I do that. Do we have a selection of y'all that in the channel, in the community, whatever? If you're in the Discord, if you're in the YouTube, if you're in the building, if you're in the US, basically, who else would be interested in it? You know, maybe I can find somebody who's got a care species of like 20 of this fish or a pair of these and a pair of these, and maybe we could do a thing where we say like first tier gets access to them to breed. Ideally, if you successfully breed them, then you would pass them on to the next person in the list, and then the next person. We should get some like MLM, some big pyramid scheme, cares species, like those letters that go around at Christmas that are like, if you don't send this on to two people, you will have a terrible Christmas and live alone and be on fire. Eddie, hey Alex, do we get debris-free clear water in low-tech dirted tanks? I had to resort to a canister. How do we get debris-free clear water in our low-tech tanks? Really, it's having fish that don't muck up the tank. So goldfish, plecos, even danios can swim so much that they swirl things up and knock things over. That's part of it. Plants, that's another part of it. The fine plant, little leaves and things, they will catch bits of algae, which will then string itself out like Christmas lights and a spider web combined, and it will catch little pieces of algae, of debris, of cyanobacteria, whatever it is that's building up, and then you can kind of use either a brush or a little turkey baster if you really want to manage cleaning that. The other thing is you can siphon, and that's always a catch-22. Do you want to clean your gravel? Do you want to have to do that if you're going filterless? My guess is probably not. You probably are hoping to have less maintenance work. And in that case, then I would say you kind of want to lean on, a cleanup crew, like I've said before, where you've got flagfish, you've got filter feeding fan shrimp, perhaps, or something like that. You're not going to want to have fish like a big Oscar or even maybe like angelfish or anything too big like that. You're gonna need smaller fish in that under 3 or 4 inch range that are kind of community fish that can kind of be omnivorous and that can be a little low key. Sorry guys, I'm trying not to like scratch the heck out of my face, but I'm getting the light right now is causing these like really bad welts. Um, and that's one thing I deal with, but basically you can see around my eyes too. I get this like purple rash starts to form. And then also I get the eczema, and it really does wear me down. And sometimes I really want to I get excited and I want to like talk to you guys. I feel like I owe you so much for how kind and how interested and invested in the community y'all are. And so it just pains me to try to have to take steps back, or to have to take a little bit of a break at times when I'm wanting to make content. Like right now, I want to have the video out and done about the pygmy sunfish, about several species of them. And it just hasn't gotten done, even though it's all filmed and everything. And it's even edited to a point where I've got all the stuff I'm going to use, but I'm going to take more away. So right now it's like a 30-minute video, and it should be down to like a 15-minute video. So that's part of it. Also, I need to like upload some of my GoPro footage from Florida, or some of my shared footage that I have with other friends who've gone down there. Yeah. So, yeah, I wonder, I'm looking at the killifish talk in the chat, and I'm wondering if the AKA, the American Killifish Association, they used to, when you join, they used to give you a selection of some killifish eggs to raise up on your own. And I think they still do that. I'm not sure. Somebody can let me know if they do or don't. But I wish there were more groups that kind of were doing stuff like that, wherever possible. If you're not already in a situation to maximize your output and everything of a certain fish or an endangered this or that, then obviously stick to what stick to what you're good at. But if it's just a matter of, oh, you're breeding a few here and there, also pass it on, pass it on to other aquarists, is my opinion. um yeah, it's okay, Alex. We're here for your good looks. Well, boy, you're in the wrong place. So yeah, also Jason of Redfish Bluefish fame is he's coming back. I know for a fact that uh he is ordering some stuff. So I'm excited about that. Uh I don't know what the future holds for the small independent, especially the independent online shops, where the overhead is very low and you can do it with like 1 to 3 people running a real pretty serious business, and effectively as well. But I just we'll see how it all turns out. I really hope it turns out well, though, because it is nice to have specialists that are just obsessed with, apistos, or just obsessed with corridoras, or whatever it may be. It's always lovely to have that in a fish community, even if it's a big community online. Uh, Only still around. Okay. Fishery, any chance you would be willing to consult a fish room project for a few hours? You can see what your rate. Oh, yeah. Fishery, I recently acquired a group of 5 wild caught Oscars. Oh, very cool. Doing well. And growing. Whoa, what just happened to my chat? Things just popped up all over. Hold on, guys. Doing well. Okay. All right. Also, I should be setting up too, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day. My buddy who was in the hospital, he had basically a stroke and then a heart attack. He's older. He's in his early 60s. And while not, ancient or anything, like, he was basically like a stockbroker, like buy, sell, go, 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 kind of like high power wheeler and dealer. And I guess it just got to him, and now he's got to completely be on like bed rest, and like try to relax and try not to be plugged into that. And so he wanted, he's from the Czech Republic, and we've been friends with his wife and him for 15 years now, 12 years, my wife and I. And so he is Czech, and he grew up in the Soviet years of the Czech Republic, and he fondly remembers his aquariums, and he doesn't have any right now. And so uh, we're gonna go take him to do that tomorrow or maybe the next day, and I may film it too, just because yeah, with like the the prices and stuff might shock him, like what he has to pay versus what they would pay for something simple like a pump. That might be easy to commandeer and make out of a bicycle tire pump or something. But it in other cases, there's like a little widget or doodad that goes to a tank that you wouldn't think is at all costly or whatever, but it could hold up the entire project of what is going on because it's just not in stock or whatever and it's needed. And that's some of the interesting stuff about those stories and some of the really creative ways that people came up with trying to get around things like blockades or tariffs or embargoes. Mick says, over here I bought Pseudomygil luminatus, one Madagascarensis Aponigeton. Oh, nice. Some Salvinia oblongifolia from a local fish store. And the pisto, Hongsloi. I see Hongnai arriving Friday. Is that the species Hongnoi or is it Hongsloi? And it got auto corrected. Just curious. Also, Matthew Plowden, thank you so much for the super duper chat. I have a 20 long tank, dark water. Hold on. Dark water tank. It's planted pretty good with large and medium sized plants. They all do well, but the stem plants are like decaying down in the substrate and come loose. Any clue? Yeah. Did you set up a father fish tank? Because there's a good chance you oversaturated your nitrates, nitrites, and dare I say even ammonia possibly in that substrate. A lot of his FERT packs are too hot. They're too rich for the average aquarist, and down the road 4 or 5 years they may be perfect when that system's losing its steam and it needs to start converting and doing the taking the nitrites in the water, or taking the nitrates in the water, turning them to nitrites in the substrate right at the edge of the oxygen level, and then in the non-oxygen level it then takes another form of bacteria and it sequesters the nitrite into ammonia. So it's the exact opposite of the nitrogen cycle about, that you learn about in the aquarium hobby. And that can happen, and people try to set that up and use that to their advantage and get anoxic filtration and or anoxic substrate beds. And while there's obviously the truth to that plan, that idea, and it's been kind of proven on various levels and various aquariums and things, it is a little bit unnecessary, I guess I would say, because it comes into play somewhere between 4 and 5 years into the tank's life. Before that, it's really just a ticking time bomb for that ammonia to get messed with. If you're trimming plants or pulling out plants, if you accidentally pour a lot of change water in at once, and it kind of pushes the sand and silt and stuff aside, and then all of a sudden you've got this swirling mess of down in the deep substrate ammonia and things. It can throw things off, especially in a alkaline setting. In an acidic setting, it's not as crucial because acidity is nowhere near as problematic as ammonia is in high hardness, high KH, GH situations. So yeah, I think what I want to do is make a video too. I want to make this video on some species spotlights and stuff, but I kind of want to do a video reflecting on all the years now of talking about no tech, low tech, aquaria, and the whole, biotope, that vibe, the whole nature aquarium, but how that's changed over time, and my new thoughts on that, of how we can't really ever replicate nature. But at the same time, the things we learn and the things that we can grow from with that as a hobby. um, I think I think that a lot of the deep substrate tanks, a lot of the father fish, or even Diane Walstead tanks, I think they put too much energy into the tank system too early. Whereas the stuff that I've tried to use and research, and that I've found the best results for myself, this may be different for different people with different water. So I'm open to whatever you guys think. If you guys have something else to say, you want to chime in and say, oh, that's not the case for me. I always appreciate feedback like that, as long as you got some evidence of, like, oh, okay, because of this and this. But for me, it just it I don't know, it says that you're ready for this high energy aquarium system, that you want to go. You need good lights, you need lots of plants, and you need a professional amount of all that stuff for it to actually utilize it. You should probably be running CO2 to utilize the amount of that nutrient load that, like, the father fish mix is, or a lot of the online guided mix of how much uh, fertilizer and how much soil amendment, or whatever you want to call it, has been added. And so I kind of want to make a video about, where I stand now versus in the past, and like what has caused me to have some of these changes, where it's like, yes, I think anoxic filtration, fun, interesting. I think if you're interested in it and you're enjoying that, great. Do I think it's good for, like, breeding angelfish? No, not at all. Do I think it's good for keeping things like Oscars and green terrors in a big community tank full of mid-sized fish? No, you would need like a giant sump in the other room or something. So yeah. Um, all right, let's see here. Check the fish box. Be cool if you did film it and hear your experience on it. Neighbor working as a stockbroker in the 90s. He passed at the age of 60. Stress. Ooh, yeah, man, stress will get you. Johnny Best says, you're a wealth of knowledge. I learned from you when I was coming back to the hobby. Thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you, Johnny. I really do appreciate it. Even when I'm hanging by a thread, not doing the best energy or mental clarity wise, like today, I am dragging, and I'm going to have to wind up, wind out, wind off, cut off the stream pretty soon. But hopefully, maybe we can squeeze in another stream or something, and try to talk about, like, some of the fish discoveries that have happened recently, or some of the scientific papers. I don't know. We'll see whatever us crazy kids get into, right? But yeah, I just appreciate y'all coming out, hanging out. And as always, you can go to the uh, Instagram, the you can go to the uh, brain not working, brain words not linked. I was gonna say that you can go to the oh, there we go, Discord, and you can chime in, you can add to the conversation, you can add files if you're trying to say, like, hey, I know a lot about cichlids, you know, and I'm happy for people to host things like that in like doc files, and then let others see them if that's stuff, especially accredited folks or just anybody who's spoken at clubs. And you know, you don't have to necessarily, but then I don't have to like vet you quite as tightly, hopefully. I guess we'll live and learn, but I think that'll work out better. And guys, I'm gonna get going. I think just because my eyes are starting to sting, and my wife's calling yet again. But I'm like I said, the inflammation really getting bad here now, and the swelling, um, and just the joint pain. I can't. I'm just getting really worn down, and it's getting harder to focus. So hopefully we can talk about some more stuff soon. I'm sorry if I cut some of y'all off on your thoughts, but leave them in the comments. The other thing I'm going to try my best to do is to start posting shorts in the form of answering questions. And I was trying to think of a funny thing to include, whether it's the cat or some jokes or memes. I don't know. I almost need an editor. I need a Gen Z kid. Where's them, one of them newfangled kids when you need one? Uh, but yeah, I'm trying to sort through that world, and figuring out if, you know, I'll probably do it myself because that's just how I roll with most things. But it if you think of anything fun or funny, educational yet uh, comical, or some shared experience that we all kind of vibe on in the aquarium hobby, let me know. Maybe we can make some sort of little video or whatnot, because I want to keep things lighthearted as well as super educational and serious to a degree. But of course, I want y'all to have fun too. All right, you guys, thank you so much for the well wishes for the health. And, you know, I will do my best to I am still reading, researching. Even when my health is bad, I'm able to, you know, sit down and read for a while. I just feel so bad not getting the content out. I feel odd, but at the end of the day, I think a lot of people probably don't notice because they have so many other content things beeping and all the things in the world today. A lot of people are kind of wanting to chime or drown those things out if possible. All right, you guys, thank you so much for the kindness, the generosity, the good questions, the thoughtful questions, and just for being nice stewards of this little ecosystem, our little pool, our pond. We're big fish in our little pond here in this channel and community. And yeah, I hope everybody has a great night. I need to go ice my joints. Much love, you guys. Take care of yourselves so that you can take care of others. And at the end of the day, we'll all be a lot better for it. Take care.